On today's episode of the podcast, I will be talking to Gracie and having an honest, pretty much open conversation about mental health. Unscripted, just winging it and having a very clear and, like I said, honest conversation. So let's get right into that. And I'm like, why can't I get out of bed? Why don't I feel like smiling today? And that's when I started to get a better sense of humor. Because if I didn't have a better sense of humor, I would have gotten more depressed. So I think my humor saved me from being like way more depressed. You know?
I agree with that part what you just said about the whole humor part.
Yeah.
Because I joke about everything nowadays, even if it's something serious.
Yeah.
And even though that's not a good thing, that's what helps me personally, just like it would probably help you.
Because if you didn't do that, you'd have to literally just sit there with it and have those thoughts go over and over. And you can't have that. You gotta laugh or else you'll cry.
Yeah.
You know? And a lot of the best comedians out there have all gone through a lot of pain and suffering. If you actually look at their stories, like Rodney Dangerfield and a bunch of them had horrible childhood and depression and anxiety, and they used humor to survive.
Yeah, I noticed that in a lot of movies. Whenever there's a comedian, they're always so happy up on that stage that when they get home, they either have an addiction or they're just not okay. Yeah.
And if you give a lot of money to somebody or you make a lot of money, you're going to go to those comforts, and that could be alcohol, sex, attention, you name it. It's endless. And what's the alternative? To just be a quiet person? Because if you're quiet, people think you're weird. If you talk a lot, they think you talk too much. And if you're sad, then all of a sudden people want to stay away from you.
Yeah.
So like,
you can't win. You can't. You have to be happy with yourself.
That's right.
Yeah, well, I think that I do know that now because back to the mental health thing, I have been alone for 4 years all by myself in this state, and I've had to learn very quickly the right and wrongs of this world, what is good and what is not okay. Yeah. And because I've had to learn all that so fast, it's made me mature way faster than a person my age is maturing nowadays.
I agree. Yeah. But I've had other things like anxiety attacks where I feel like I don't exist. Like I'm an observer of myself. Like I can kind of see myself walking and talking, but I don't feel like I'm inside. I feel like I'm outside. Do you ever feel that way?
No, but when I was in the mental health hospital, they were asking me questions like that. Like, I remember the specific question they asked me was, do you feel like you're watching a movie of your life? Mm-hmm. I'm like, no. But now that you said that you feel like that clicks, that's probably why they asked that. Some people probably do think like that.
Yeah, it feels horrible. You feel, I don't know, like it's a dream almost.
Yeah.
But yeah, plenty of that. But once you go down this route of unwell, they have about 100 different categories they can put you in, and then like SSRIs and all kinds of drugs. And I don't think it's great. I think it's not good.
It's definitely not good because for years, up until about 2 years ago, I was on Vyvanse 70 milligrams, which is a technically stronger type of Adderall. And I was the happiest person anyone could ever meet in their life when I was on this Vyvanse. I didn't care who you were. I'll say, hi, how are you? Oh my God, what a great day. However, the minute that so I needed to get off that because it was making me too happy to the point where I was so, I can't do this, like anxious. And when I got off of that crash of being the happiest, bubbly person you'll ever meet to just normal and one type of emotion, that is a fat change. And I don't think people should be on those strong drugs because you're either going to get addicted to it or, you know what I'm saying, you're not going to be the same person after it.
I think going forward 50 years, 60, 100, when they look back at the time when you were in your 20s or teens, and they're going to think it's ridiculous what they did to people and the drugs that they put them on, because I think things are more holistic than that, right? Like, you should be exercising, communicating, knowing your neighbors, getting along. Like, I don't know, it's more community based, I think. And I think that the internet and drugs and all are making people crazy.
Yeah. Just like what you said, how when they look back at us with all this thing, they're gonna think we're insane. I actually just saw something about this boy who had autism, and the parents never told him he had autism. He had it really bad though.
Yeah.
And he did everything that everyone told him he couldn't do. He got accepted at Clemson University. He's becoming like a really good financial person, finance or something, and everything. Like, because I think that is a big thing, the labels too. Like, labeling's really bad also.
Yeah, I agree. It is so difficult to, be born into this world and have it all right, because we didn't write the rules. We just came into the world that had the rules already, and they keep changing them. And it's like, well, you should be like this, so if you're not like that, you should take this drug. And it's like, well, what are you basing that off of? Like, and it keeps changing. It's like, this is normal now, but this is not.
You said with the dating apps thing, that was weird back in the day, but now that's normal.
That was only 20 years ago. And people were like, you met someone on the internet? It sounded bizarre, weird. And even as I watched it grow into like an industry, I was still like, that's weird. Yeah. Because you'd be like, I met him at a bar, I met him at a party, I met him at a dance. Not like, sitting there. But that's excellent stories about mental health. I think we could go on with that quite a bit. That only seems to be the surface.
Oh my God, yeah. But I would say in my life personally, the number one thing is depression.
Yeah, me too.
Oh yeah, and that is because, I want to also say depression, it's not just me. I've noticed with my generation specifically, they either have anxiety or depression. No one has nothing nowadays. But because of my situation, I have lived alone for so long, all by myself in the state, and I've had to figure out ways to keep myself entertained, or else I literally will sit in this exact chair and just cry for hours.
I lived alone for 5 years, all by myself. And I know what it was like passing time by myself and trying to find ways to soothe myself. And some days, I used to drink a lot more because I worked in the liquor business. And that was not a good combination. Like, overthinking, drinking wine. It was really terrible. But the best thing I did was I started exercising. I started journaling. I started holding myself accountable. But I was also old enough to control my own life. And I think that's the big difference from when you're a kid. Because you're not the boss of you. Other people are.
Yeah.
And that sucks.
Yeah. Like you said, you would find hobbies. I think anyone that is going through, especially depression, needs to find a hobby or exercise, like you said, to get their mind off things. And I think if they do that, they're really going to improve on themselves.
Well, for me, there's a certain depression that I can't win the day. I call it like winning the day. I feel so heavy some days, not as much as I used to, but I used to feel like I weighed 500 pounds and I just couldn't stand up. And then that's like true depression to me, is when I feel very heavy. And I'm not the type to look for help or complain to somebody. I used to just sit with it. And it's very difficult to find your energy and momentum again. Like, rude things to you and talking shit to you, and you're already kind of got your own problems going on, and then you just like cycle it, and it can ruin your whole weekend, your month. It sucks.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, people are not nice.
People are not nice, and sometimes I'm not nice, but I try to only do it after someone's been mean to me.
Exactly.
And I also think it's interesting that people like me and you still try to be good and be nice and kind, and not because we could just say, fuck the world, and then be like, people like this. We both.
Yeah,
talk
we
to 'em?
definitely do.
We definitely do, and they immediately are just nasty and mean and aggressive. And we try to at least be nice. It takes a big person to go through a lot of personal struggle and still remain a nice, good person.
Yes. Well, I don't know if this is on the agenda for today.
Right.
I tell you the reason why I am so nice to people, even though I've been through so much stuff. Because at the end of the day, God gives the hardest lives to his strongest warriors.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, God and religion is a big part of my life, and everything I try to live by that way every day of my life. So that is why I'm so nice, because God would not want me to be mean. And there's a saying in the Bible, it's an eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. That was in the Old Testament.
Yeah.
That means like, I'm gonna punch you, you're gonna punch me back, whatever. However, that's how you should not live. It's the Old Testament. There's a new saying in the New Testament that says, somebody punches you, you turn the other cheek, let them punch your other cheek. And that's how I feel now.
I totally agree with you, and I think I see God more in everything, and I truly believe. But I do also like when they take the Eastern religions a little bit about like karma and stuff like that, because I think there is a level to taking abuse from the world. You do also have to fight back, and you do have to stand your ground sometimes, just so you're strong for others, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But I 100% believe in the universe and God and all of this. And I agree with you about how we are here to learn. You do a great job doing it as well.
Thank you.
I think people like me and you, we get annoyed because we get bored. Do you get bored? When I get bored, especially at at work or something like that, I don't know. Boredom is not a good thing. No. You gotta stay productive.
Yeah, and if you get too bored, you'll get depression. Like
Exactly.
we were saying, like you need a hobby.
Exactly. Yep. An idle mind, right? You gotta kind of try to stay busy. Is there anything else you'd like to share?
Mental health. If anyone has really bad issues, you're not alone. People that look like me and him have it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
People that are willing to talk,